Part 8. Canon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 72. Lan Yu's eyes shone brightly, and he lowered his head shyly. If this is the case, I hope my sister won't dislike it, and Yu is willing to follow her with her body. After she said this, Duke and Guo and others outside could not wait any longer. They were so panicked that they even called for help. They are in a hurry to die. Sister, wait for me for a while. When I come back, I will apologize for my sister. When Lan Yu heard someone urging him to go out, he didn't know the virtues of An Kuagong and others, so he couldn't help but sneered. She had already given up her body when she decided to avenge her parents, brothers, and sisters. After hearing this, Lily fell silent. Only then did Lan Yu react, as if he was a little anxious, and glanced at Lily in embarrassment, but in the end he didn't say anything, bit his lip, and walked out like an angry little wife. Although she said to wait for her for a while, it was almost night when she appeared again. Her hairpin was scattered, her lips were red and swollen, and she exuded a lazy aura. When she appeared in front of Lily, she had a look of despair. Color. Does my sister already dislike Yu's ruined flowers and willows now? Before she could finish her words, tears were already falling down her white eyes. I can see that my sister is different from what they said. She is not like them at all. Damn ordinary people can compare. Yu hates these men. They all deserve to die. But my sister is different. Yu truly admires her and doesn't dare to ask for her love and care. I just hope that my sister can look at me more often. Yu Yuanzu, I am no longer worthy of my sister. Lily's jaw dropped before she could finish her words, and she opened her mouth wide. Not a word could come out. Seeing the scene in Lan Yu's eyes, it was as if she had been frightened out of her wits when faced with Lan Yu's true situation, which made Lan Yu sad and threw herself into Lily's arms. Her name is Lily, but she is not Lily. 10,000 grass and mud horses galloped past in Lily's mind. At this moment, she was already stupid, no matter how much experience she had or how many years she had. But this was the first time she had faced this situation. After doing so many tasks, no man had ever confessed to her. For the first time in her life, the person who confessed to her was actually a woman, and she was as beautiful as a flower. Lily opened her mouth. Her whole body was already a little sluggish. She watched Lan Yu stand up tremblingly, and kissed her cheek gently with his tear-stained lips. Goosebumps spread all over Lily's body, but this was the first time she faced this. In this situation, he was so stiff that he couldn't come back to his senses. I only saw Lan Yu leaning in her arms contentedly after kissing her. As soon as I saw this scene, Lily's whole person is even worse. She is a woman after all. Even though her appearance has just reached the standard of a beautiful woman in the eyes of ordinary people, she still doesn't know how to do so poorly. In the world of two women, Lan Yu's his expression clearly showed that he was treating her as someone to rely on. The blood in her heart was rushing, and Lily's lips trembled. For a moment, it seemed that Lan Yu couldn't be pushed out, maybe because she was hugging him too tightly. It was because her hands were trembling so much that Lan Yu was still leaning tightly against her arms. The two soft balls that the men in the An family couldn't put down were pressing against her chest. Lily could only hear herself stiffen. Said, Miss Lan. My sister calls me Yu. I like it. Okay, Yu. Lily spoke reluctantly, and just when she was about to reject her, Lan Yu opened her big eyes blurred with tears. Sister, you better call me sister, those disgusting men also call me Yu. How can my sister be like them? When Lily heard this, her face was covered in blood again. But we are women. She said weakly, but Lan Yu sighed and taught her a lesson. Sister, true love has no boundaries. I have been afraid before, but my sister's gentle encouragement got me. Where was her gentleness and encouragement? If she had known that things would develop to this point, she would have corrected her attitude long ago. In her opinion, such indifference to Lan Yu could be love. Lily turned her back and cried silently, unable to say a word. But, the world like us can't tolerate it. After finally thinking of another reason, Lan Yu snorted coldly, this group of shameless and family, male thieves and female prostitutes, from old Thiefin to him my daughter is not a promiscuous person at all. Compared with them, my sister and I are much more pure. But I like to draw talismans, and you can't do it either. Our personalities don't get along. Lan Yu looked tenderly at Lily, whose face had obviously changed, and laughed softly. There is an old saying in the Central Plains, when the husband sings and the wife follows, when my sister sings, I will follow. Although I can't draw, I like to watch my sister draw the talisman. Demeanor. As soon as these words were spoken, Lily got goosebumps all over her body. She licked her dry lips and felt like crying, but, I don't like to see your blue eyes. I know that my sister cares about me and doesn't want to see me end up being poisoned. I promise my sister that I will never hurt myself again in the future. When Lily heard this, her mind felt as if she was being pinched by a door, and she nodded subconsciously, that's pretty much it. As soon as he finished speaking, seeing Lan Yu's happy face, a group of grass-mud horses ran past him again in his mind. I don't like you playing tricks anymore. That's not what I wanted to say, but somehow, by some strange coincidence, that's what came out of my mouth. Lily herself was stunned for a moment, while Lan Yu had a sweet smile on his face. If my sister doesn't like it, I won't do it either. Grass-mud horse. What she wanted to say was not at all I love sweets. This seemed to be the end, but Lily was unwilling to accept it and added another sentence. Lan Yu was also very gentle, then I will only learn to make sweets from now on. I also like spicy food. Lan Yu had a good temper and nodded, I also like spicy food. I'll take a shower every day. Then I will fetch water every day. When Lily heard what she said, she reluctantly glanced at her weak body. She didn't believe that she could fetch water, but in order to scare her away, she had to deliberately find trouble. I'm wearing clothes and the cleanest one. No problem. Lan Yu looked at her as if he were a naughty child. Lily couldn't bear to look at her and turned away, and said quietly, then I want to eat instant noodles. Lan Yu really didn't know this, so he asked a little embarrassedly, what are instant noodles? It's just noodles made by others, and you can eat them after mixing it with boiling water every time. Lily was delighted. Seeing that Lan Yu couldn't answer, she just explained a few sentences and was about to say that the two of them would forget it. From now on, after signing up, everyone will divide their time. She will walk on her sunny path and walk on her own single plank bridge. She won't have to do her mission anymore. This mission is too dangerous. Losing her virginity to a man is nothing. If she loses her virginity to a woman, haha, let's do it. Forget it, she's dead. I see, I can learn it too. This way she can learn it too. Lily glanced at her blankly, seeing a happy smile on her small face as big as a palm, and said cruelly, but I don't like women. A lot of tears quickly filled Lan Yu's eyes, but she held it back, looking like she didn't want the tears to fall and upset Lily, so she sobbed, sister likes men, I. Lily felt happy, and was just waiting for her to say that there was nothing she could do, but Lan Yu said, in that case, I will find a man who suits your needs for my sister. I am willing to serve my sister with others. Puff. A mouthful of old blood spurted 3 feet away. Faced with this situation, Lily could no longer speak. She stared at Lan Yu, gentle and obedient, and also possessed the good 3 obedience and 4 virtues of ancient women, neither jealous nor making trouble. Such a beautiful little lady, Lily almost felt like she was being persuaded. Then, she couldn't find any reason to deliberately find trouble. Lily had a stiff smile on her face. When Lan Yu looked like they would live together happily from now on, the corner of her mouth twitched. but no more words could be said. Lan Yu seemed to have found his own spring. He came crying and left contentedly, leaving Lily, who was in the completely opposite mood to hers, crying and beating the bed while holding the quilt. 2 months passed by. Although Nkuagong was brave, he was old after all. The symptoms of poisonous poison appeared in him first. He began to vomit a large amount of blood, and vomited out blood containing poisonous insects. These insects seemed to be still alive. Yes, wherever they went, people rushed to avoid them. These insects were extremely energetic and would burrow into anyone they saw. The skin on Nkuagong's face began to collapse rapidly, and his hair began to turn gray. In less than 10 days, he became very old, and many insects would come out of his ears, some from his nostrils. The key is that he was still alive. Nkuagong became the most feared person in the house, and even his first wife began to being willing to get close to him made people in the house panic for a while, but then, the daughter-in-law of the eldest family also started to have the same symptoms as Nkuagong. This was like a signal, one after another, something happened to the N family. Lily once saw a maid suddenly having a poisonous attack when she was delivering food for her. That scene could scare people crazy. For someone like Nkuagong who had direct sexual contact with Lan Yu, because the child voodoo in the body has the most frequent and direct contact with the mother voodoo, so his situation is much more serious than that of someone who is indirectly infected with Lan Yu. But even so, the scene of the girl's poisonous attack made Lily feel extremely sick when she saw the situation for the first time. She had been prepared for it, and she had always prepared medicine to restrain the poisonous insects. So when she saw the poisonous insects coming out of the girl's body, she hurriedly took the medicine and sprinkled it on the insects. She was relieved when she saw them turn into black water. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly votes. Your support is my biggest motivation. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 73. Starting from Nkuagong, this kind of thing will happen every 2 days. Half a month has passed, and the N family is uneasy. At the same time, most of the people have been poisoned, but not many people have died. You can hear the sound of lamentations and sighs in the house. This kind of poison is the most torturous. As long as it has contact with human flesh and blood or body, it is easily transmitted, especially the intimate sexual intercourse. The more intense it is, the more likely it is for these people. Nutrients for the growth of insects. Or if the adult worms grow up and burrow into the human body, they will also be infected, and the incubation period is extremely long. Before this, there are no symptoms at all except blue eyes. Sadly, the poisoned person never notices. Angia could hear the painful moans of ouch at any time. This kind of poison would make people not die easily. They would go through an extremely long period of pain, and then they would gradually feel that their skin and flesh were eaten by bugs, until the bugs it takes about half a month to pierce the ears and nostrils, make you unable to hear, eat, or see, and finally dies in pain. During this half month, people who have been poisoned usually think that they are in such a situation. Before you die, you will instinctively have the hope of living, and will desperately look for prescriptions, but in the end it will be useless, so most people are desperate when they die. Because of this, Lily Lu died in this way in her previous life, so she was particularly resentful. Blood could be seen all around, and the entire N family seemed like hell, with a grim look. Although Nkuagong first showed symptoms of poisoning, he is the most tenacious one. Lan Yu's husband and Ching Ching died 2 days ago, but Nkuagong is still alive at this moment. Although he can no longer be called a human being. When Lily was drawing the talisman in the room, a newly invited maid trembled and said that the Wang family was inviting her. People in the mansion had been in a panic recently, and many people were not in the mood to deliver food. Fortunately, Lily had practiced Taoism. Although she is not in the solitude stage now, she still won't be hungry without eating for a few meals. At worst, when she is really hungry, she can just eat whatever she wants out of the house. Therefore, she is not worried about Njia's mutation. Originally, Lily didn't want to go there, but she also wanted to see what kind of medicine Wang was selling. After some hesitation, she went anyway. As soon as she entered Wang's courtyard, she heard a roar that didn't seem to be human. As soon as she entered the courtyard door, then I heard Mrs. Wang sternly shouting, "Close the courtyard door, don't allow her to go out, and invite the Duke, the Crown Prince and others to come out." Wang's stern shout was followed by many people's heavy shouts. With the sound of footsteps, Lily saw the most disgusting scene. She saw Nqiagong's face was bloody and bloody. Dragging two rotten legs out, the clothes on his body were already soaked with blood. Strands of hair fell around his face. At this moment, no one was changing clothes for everyone, and the stench rushed into Lily's nostrils, making people sick. If she hadn't just heard Wang say that this was the Duke, Lily wouldn't have recognized him. Next to him were An Qingyuan and other brothers who had a rough shape. Many of their bodies were riddled with holes, but their faces were still vaguely intact, and their original appearance could be roughly seen. "Bitch! Have you been playing tricks in the house for more than a year? Drawing talismans is harmful to people. Now just remove the talisman paper. Restore them to their original state quickly, otherwise don't blame me for taking your life." Mrs. Wang looked at this moment. The look in Lily's eyes was filled with gritted teeth. She gave birth to a total of 3 sons and 2 daughters, but one of the 3 sons is now dead, and the remaining one is neither human nor ghost. Her husband has now become like this. It looked like the entire An family was almost destroyed. Mrs. Wang is the head wife of the An family and has been in charge of the middle school for decades. Such a serious thing happened under her eyes, and it concerns her husband and children. How could she not hate it? She wanted to be stripped right now. Lily's skin, draw her bones, drink her blood. Lily's heart moved, and she glanced at An Qingyuan, whose eyes had long been gone, with only a pair of black holes left in his eyes. "So what if I did it? An Qingyuan watched his damn father rape my innocence. He deserves to die. Now that the An family is in great misfortune, I don't know how happy I am. I want to lift their spell." What a dream! When Wang heard this, she was furious and waved her hand quickly. "How dare you speak so harshly? Go ahead and eat her flesh and drink her blood. She's not that capable. Maybe there's an antidote in the blood." As soon as these words were spoken, everyone rushed towards Lily. Although Lily's spell made them feel a little scared, but now Nqiagong and others have become neither human nor ghost, but they still want to live, and the desire to live outweighs everything else. At the same time, Lan Yu was dressing up carefully in the house. She had waited for 2 years, and finally waited for the day when this great revenge would be avenged. She wanted to dress up well to see what happened to the An family, and become the most beautiful bride by the way. Flying in pairs with her beloved sister, the poison of the girls in her own yard was not severe. Lan Yu still needs their services so far, so he controlled the mother poison in his body and did not let it activate, so the maids in Lan Yu's courtyard are the most intact, while the maids in Lily's courtyard are completely dead. They used to be so disrespectful to their sister, and they will no longer need them from now on, because she will serve her sister herself. They don't need to take another step closer. But when Lan Yu waited until the maid came to report that Wang had found the antidote, a bad premonition came over her. Her sister. When Lan Yu hurriedly ran towards Wang's courtyard, Lily had already stabbed herself in the stomach with a knife. This was the first time she had actively begged for death during a mission. Nqiagong and others lying on top of her were already going crazy. He started biting her hand, and she endured the pain all over her body, cursing why she wasn't dead yet, when Lan Yu finally appeared. "Stop! Get away!" Lan Yu screamed. She was just a weak woman. How could she push these crazy people at this moment? Although Lily's face was still intact, Her clothes were torn to pieces, and some the bugs that fell out of Nkuagong and others were still looking for entrances and exits on her body. Wang didn't like Lan Yu, who had seduced her husband and her other sons, so she said coldly, "Leave her alone. If you continue to block her, she will be killed too. Who knows if she is Liu's accomplice? Go, go far away, don't come back again, live well, help me." Lily couldn't die now, she was in extreme pain, and the feeling of being bitten on her body and tearing her flesh off made her groan in pain. After speaking out, Lan Yu couldn't help but shed tears and shook her head. No, she was already smart. When she heard what Wang just shouted, she knew that Wang thought it was Lily who caused all this, and Lily, she didn't even say a word. She knew it was her who put the poison, she could guess it, but she didn't say anything. Lan Yu now thought that Lily liked her, so he took on everything for her. She was about to speak, but when she heard what Lily said, she shook her head in pain. "Help me." Lily glanced at her, and Lan Yu hesitated for a while. Seeing Nkuagong going crazy, he finally couldn't bear to refuse her request, screamed, took out the hairpin on his head, he wiped it towards Lily's neck. Blood was sprinkled all over her head. When Nqingyuan and others saw her, they instinctively became very close to her because of the poison in their bodies. They loved her so much that they refused to hurt her. Lan Yu looked at Wang with resentment. With one glance, he softly gave a few instructions to the group of people. The group of people rushed toward Wang like crazy. Amidst the blood and flesh flying everywhere, Lan Yu stumbled and picked up Lily and left the wolf den of Anjia amid Wang's screams. Half a month later, the news that the An family had a serious infectious disease spread throughout the capital. In order to prevent the people in the capital from being infected, the emperor sent the Yulan army to set a fire and burn the An family completely. In a carriage leaving the city, Lan Yu was dressed in plain white and looked as beautiful as a real person. There was a bit of coldness between her eyebrows, and her ice blue eyes under her fair face were very eye-catching. The car exuded a hot smell. The smell came, but she didn't take it seriously. She caressed the face that had long since lost consciousness and coaxed softly, "Sister, don't be afraid. Yu will accompany you and travel to various rivers with you. Yu only has one request. I want to be by my sister's side forever, and we will die together. It's great now, no one will compete with me for my sister." She pinned many biting flies around the cardboard with needles, refusing to let them get close to her. All was quiet. Less than half a year after Lan Yu left the city, infectious diseases broke out among several in-laws who were related to the An family. Almost a dozen families were completely wiped out by the source of infection caused by the An family. Counting the servants and servants in these people's homes, the total number of people who died can be counted in the tens of thousands. This incident can be recorded in the history of the Daong dynasty. Later, the people of the Daong dynasty changed their minds. Regarding the occurrence of this disaster, some people once said that the An family would die if they did unjust things. At the time, Nguo, during the military expedition, he killed too many people and had too much resentment. The people he killed came to take revenge. Some people said that Lan Yu, the little princess of the southern Tang dynasty who was good at making poison, was taking revenge. Some even said that the people of the southern Tang dynasty were unwilling to die and their souls turned into insects to eat the flesh of the An family. Some even said that it was the emperor's inaction can cause such a big turmoil. But no matter what, the reputation of the Daong emperor was always ruined. He abdicated in favor of someone less than 50 years old. The southern Tang dynasty became a mysterious place of subjugation in the eyes of many people, and all the things that once existed in the courtyard were gradually replaced by others. The fire turned into ashes. The little princess of the southern Tang dynasty was described by everyone as a stunning beauty. Jokes about her began to circulate in major tea houses, and she became a beauty that everyone lamented. A few years later, someone once heard that a beautiful girl was seen traveling in Dachuan with a car with a weird smell, which caused many people to rush to get there. The place where she once stayed was crowded with people. I checked, but there was no trace of Fang again. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly votes. Your support is my biggest motivation. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 74. When Lily returned to the space, although the pain on her body was gone, she still had goosebumps all over her body when she thought of the miserable death. The man who had been silent in the space for a long time suddenly said, "You completed the mission well, the host is very satisfied." In the end, Lan Yu held her body and traveled around the mountains and rivers, lonely and almost crazy. The scene should have made Yuan Lu Bei's wish was fulfilled, so the mysterious handsome man specially praised her, but being liked by a woman was not a good thing after all, and Lily had no intention of being proud of it. It was probably Lan Yu who had spent less than half of his life. For a period of time, she lived a happy and peaceful life, but in the second half, she was suddenly destroyed by Nkuagong and others. She had seen her mother and sisters being insulted to death by men, and she herself served as a tiger, using her body as a. Although the weapon was for revenge, she should have instinctive resentment towards men in her heart. This was the original reason why she fell in love with Lily. Now that Lily could calm down after returning to the space, she could naturally figure it out. However, thinking about it was one thing, but when she thought of the scene where Lan Yu fell in love so much that he became a little crazy and paranoid, it made sense. It was still creepy. Fortunately, she died later. Otherwise, with Lan Yu's character, it would be strange for the two not to be strangely entangled for the rest of their lives. Thank you. Lily suppressed the tingling feeling in her heart, and thanked her after a while. The man's figure appeared again in the starry sky. His appearance remained unchanged, and his brows seemed to be as cold as frost stars. Fortunately, Lily had already she was used to seeing him, so she didn't feel that he was scared at all. Instead, she stayed aside quietly, and her information appeared again in the air. Gender, female, variable. Name, Lily. Age, 21. Intelligence, 55, out of 100. Appearance, 60, out of 100. Physical strength, 58, 100 full points. Force, 12, out of 100 points. Skills, 9 Yang Scripture, 9 Yin Direct Scripture, Heaven and Earth Gate Tao Te Ching, Southern Gu Technique. Specialties, none. Charisma, 23, out of 100. Collection, The Love of the Corpse King, The Blessing of the Saint. In addition to adding a little more force to this mission. And the charm actually increased a bit. It's understandable that Lily's charm increased this time. After all, being liked by a woman is simply love that transcends gender. He can attract women, so it's okay for Lily to increase his charm. However, his force is also increased inexplicably this time. She asked quietly. "Excuse me, my strength increased because you are diligent in your studies. As the saying goes, hard work makes up for weakness. Even if you are less talented, you worked hard," the extremely handsome man in brocade robes said coldly. Although he was praising himself, Lily didn't know why. After hearing this, I wasn't happy at all. She had seen this man several times, but she had never really chatted with him. Although he had an indifferent expression at the moment, Lily could tell from his words that she was stupid and not talented. High meaning comes. I know I'm a little stupid, but I didn't expect that this would also include force. She hesitated for a long time, but still looked at the number in the column of her own force value with joy. He rolled his eyes, but his thoughts hadn't started yet. The man said coldly. Maximum 5 bonuses. Although hard work can bring you rewards, Talent is more important. You are indeed a bit stupid. After the man said this, he saw Lily was stunned for a moment and waved his hand. The mission was completed well. There is still a reward this time. Where do you want to add it? Just now I said I was stupid, but of course I had to add it to my IQ. Lily didn't dare to curse secretly in her heart. He pointed at intelligence honestly. I'm going to add to that intelligence. The stars in the starry sky moved slightly, and the ones above shook like water ripples, and the information became: gender, female, variable. Name, Lily. Age, 21. Intelligence, 56, out of 100. Appearance, 60, out of 100. Physical strength, 58, 100 full points. Force, 12, out of 100 points. Skills, 9 Yang Manual, 9 Yin Manual, Heaven and Earth Gate Tao Te Ching, Southern Gu Technique. Specialties, none. Charisma, 23, out of 100. Collection, The Love of the Corpse King, The Blessing of the Saint. Seeing that her IQ has obviously increased, although it is slower, Lily is still a little pleased. She just said a few words to the man, and when she saw the collection column, she almost forgot to ask. I also have the blessing of a saint. The man nodded slowly. He seemed to have a cold look on his face, but he showed no sign of impatience when talking to Lily. He explained, the blessing of the saint will enable you to meet the saint again in the mission. The chance of the saint falling in love with you will increase by more than half. As soon as he said these words, Lily's jaw dropped. She could say with certainty that although this man's tone was cold, there was definitely a forbearing smile in his eyes. Lily did not expect that the saint's blessing could be such a thing. Goosebumps spread all over my back. It means. That's right. I mean, when you see the saint in the future, if you don't have any tasks related to her, run farther away. The man really smiled this time, and the corners of his mouth curled up, a pair of starlight shone in the slender Danfin eyes. Lily's eyelids twitched, the corners of her mouth twitched, and she was silent and could no longer speak. What if we continue the mission? He just smiled softly for a moment, and the man put away his smile again, turning into the expressionless look before. Thinking of that blessing, Lily felt a little embarrassed and nodded hurriedly, I want to give me a blessing. After she said this, she subconsciously saw the unbearable smile on the man's face and hurriedly said twice, I have to go on a mission. Okay. Laughter came from his mouth, and Lily didn't dare to look at his face anymore. She saw his sleeves waved up, and Lily's body could not help but fly up lightly. After a while, she felt lightheaded and felt sick in her heart. I felt like vomiting, but a man's voice next to me was still crying, Jinlian, eat some, please eat some. I was wrong. As soon as Lily heard this voice, she didn't know whether it was due to the influence of her body's instinct or because of the mission transfer. She instinctively felt a sense of nausea in her heart, and she didn't have time to pay attention to the plot in her mind. She pushed away the hands handed in front of her, only to hear the crisp sound of a bowl falling to the ground, and the begging and crying male voice just now let out a muffled groan. As soon as she opened her eyes, there was no sound. After seeing clearly what was happening in front of me, and only vaguely seeing a man's head, my heart was overwhelmed, and I spat it out with a wow sound. This vomiting was like a signal. I couldn't bear it anymore and vomited everything in my stomach, including the bile. In the end, there was only gall water left in my mouth. Only then did I feel feeling better. Although she felt comfortable, she was still dizzy. The man climbed onto the bed and stretched out his two thin arms to lift her up, making her lie more comfortable. Then he used his sleeves to cover her. Wiping his forehead, he asked with a soft smile, Jinlian, are you feeling better? As soon as Lily heard the word Jinlian, she couldn't help but want to laugh. Jinlian? My surname is Pan. She didn't see clearly the true face of the man in front of her, So she could only reply instinctively, gasping a few times every time she spoke, and her mouth there was a sour smell in her mouth, and she felt so uncomfortable that she almost vomited it out again. The man didn't take it seriously. Seemingly seeing how uncomfortable she was, he hurriedly wiped her mouth for her and trembled again. Climbing down, "I'll get you some water to rinse your mouth, Jin Lian, don't think too much. If you really don't want to give birth to a son for me, just stop giving birth." After he finished speaking, he walked out in despair. The room became quieter, but there was a sharp pain in Lily's mind. The plot came in again. Her body seemed a little weak. At this moment, she felt someone lifted her head and gave her water. Seeing that she didn't seem to open her mouth, and I don't know what method was used, she felt a sense of relief in her mouth, but she felt very uncomfortable, and instinctively spit out the water. Now her clothes were wet, and the man seemed to see her. She felt a little uncomfortable and used a handkerchief to wipe her clothes. It was inevitable that her hands would touch her breasts, so Lily instinctively looked away. "Okay, I won't touch you anymore." She lost her temper, and the man didn't care about her. Instead, he gave her his hand in a flattering manner. Although he said he wouldn't touch her anymore, he still moved her to a comfortable place. The position allowed her to sleep well, and then she sat next to him and became dazed. After absorbing the memories in her mind, Lily couldn't help but want to curse. At this moment, she no longer cared about her headache. With tears streaming down her face, she turned around and called out, "Da Lang. Hey, Jin Lian, are you paying attention to me?" The man sitting next to her eyes lit up and he stood up quickly, but he was still about the same height as when he was sitting just now. Lily's back was turned to him. His shadow didn't even hit the wall, and he couldn't help but burst into tears again. I don't know if she has offended the man in the starry sky. She has done it as a nun and a Taoist priest. The last time she met a woman who liked her, this time it was better. She directly turned into Pan Jinlian, the famous Liangshan hero who was spurned by others. The most scolded adulteress, she married a short-built Wu Dalan. In the end, she killed her husband because of her romantic pleasure, but her brother-in-law Wu Song, who could kill a tiger, killed Pan Jinlian alive and had her heart ripped out. I am afraid that all Chinese people are familiar with this plot. With tears in Lily's eyes, she tentatively called Wu Dalan. After hearing his answer, she felt her eyes darken for a while. The memories passed down from the original owner contained only reluctance, resentment that Wu Song snubbed him, looked down on him, and finally killed him, as well as discomfort and resentment that he ended up marrying Wu Dalan because he was so beautiful, and even more resentment towards Wu Dalan. The resentment and morbid dependence of the late official Ximen made Lily speechless for a while, and she kept sighing. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly votes. Your support is my biggest motivation. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 75. Jinlian, have you finally forgiven me? That big man is not a good person. Don't be angry with me anymore. The man seemed to be about to cry again. Lily thought about Wu Dalan's appearance in her memory and closed her eyes unbearably. Pan Jinlian looked down upon this husband who was short in stature and had a wretched face. She was naturally romantic, and she was unwilling to accept Zhang Dehu as his wife. How could she be willing to marry Wu Dalan? It was just helpless, but Wu Dalan valued her very much. The two originally lived in Qinghe County, but many gangsters in the county came to seduce her, so Wu Dalan had no choice but to take her and his daughter Ying'er to move again. It was precisely because Pan Jinlian's reputation spread far and wide after she moved, that she hooked up with Ximen Qing through the help of her neighbor Wang Po. Ximen Qing finally kicked Wu Dalan out of his heart, and Wang Po offered medicine to Pan Jinlian to poison Wu Dalan to death. The original owner was still very cowardly at this time. After killing Wu Dalan with medicine, he became infatuated with Ximen Qing and married into Ximen's family. Later, because he had killed Wu Dalan, he became ruthless and took several lives on his hands. In the end, Ximenqing also she died in vain. In order to get Pan Jinlian, Ximenqing sent Wu Song to be his wife. However, after Wu Song killed several people in a row, he got help from his friends but came back. After learning that his eldest brother was killed by Pan Jinlian, he pretended to marry her. But on their wedding night, they flayed Pan Jinlian's heart alive and killed Wang Po as well, in order to avenge her deepest hatred. Pan Jinlian did something wrong indeed, but in the end, on her wedding night, when she thought she should have a happy life, she met a violent death, and she naturally felt resentful. Lily felt a little awkward at first, but then she thought about it, it was just a task. Wu Dalan was not her husband, and at worst she was not allowed to get close to him anymore. Thinking of this, Lily felt much better. When she thought of Wu Dalan's face, she no longer wanted to escape like before. Now counting the time, the gangsters from Qinghe County came to pester him endlessly. After Wu Dalan and Pan Jinlian had a quarrel, they were about to move to Yanggu County. What makes Lily breathe a sigh of relief is that fortunately the plot here has not yet been related to Ximenqing. Although the original owner had feelings for Ximenqing at first, but later became dependent on him. Although he felt resentful because of his love affair, in fact, the original owner in Lily's view, although she is cruel and scheming. But in fact, the source lies in Wu Dalan's death. After Wu Dalan was poisoned to death by Pan Jinlian herself, she seemed to have thrown away the moral baggage in her heart and no longer had any scruples in her actions. Therefore, she later killed Li Ping-er, mother and son, and others. Her feelings for Ximenqing were very complicated. Lily had no intention of following the original owner's wishes. Her main thing is to complete the task, but how to complete it? It is best to follow the host's wishes, but if the host's wishes are contrary to hers, then she will naturally follow her wishes. Just like in the previous plot, the original owner Liu Beihe originally wanted to live for a long time to make up for her regrets in the previous episode, but in the end Lily chose to die early, so that the final mission would be completed. Are you going to move now, because there are so many ruffians in Qinghe County? Wu Dalan was afraid of having a green head, so he decided to move to Yanggu County to find his brother. His younger brother Wu Song was working as the head of Yanggu County at this time. It would be great if they could rely on each other and take care of each other. The two brothers have a very deep relationship. They lost their parents when they were young. Wu Song was brought up almost by Wu Dalan. He respected him very much as his eldest brother. With his brother here, if a rogue came to harass Pan Jinlian again, he would be in trouble. It seemed that Wu Dalan might be able to ask his brothers to help drive away the people. Seeing that Lily finally talked to him, Wu Dalan felt excited and a little happy. The two of them had a quarrel this time because of the moving matter. Pan Jinlian was a romantic by nature and was very unhappy about marrying Wu Dalan's husband. She had been there since she was a child. He can sing and dance, and plays the pipa very well. Although he is not particularly proficient in poetry and poetry, he is good at it. Compared with Wu Dalan, he was a widower whose wife died and left a daughter to welcome his son. Such conditions were not as good as hers at the beginning. Naturally, she felt unhappy after following Zhang Dehua. Pan Jinlian worked as a maid in Wang Xiaoxuan's mansion when she was young. She was knowledgeable and high-spirited. After marrying Wu Dalan, she was very aggrieved. She thought she was gold and silver and buried herself in the sand of Wu Dalan. She always played and sang. She lived in Qinghe County from time to time. I caressed myself and felt sorry for myself, and joked with Zhang Dehua, who had dirty thoughts. But if I moved away and went to Yanggu County again, would I be so happy now? Because of this, she insisted that she did not want to move. Wu Dalan, who had always been obedient and protective of her, finally hardened his heart and insisted on moving in order to avoid these rogues. Pan Jinlian got angry with him and tied a rope. I wanted to scare him, but unexpectedly the fake show almost came true, and my life was almost at stake, which frightened Wu Dalin terribly. He is not young, and he is not good looking. Although his family is not too poor to take the blame, it is not much better. To be able to get a dowry without spending a penny and to marry such a beautiful daughter-in-law makes me feel happy. It goes without saying that she is the most precious person on weekdays, and there is no way he would be willing to make her unhappy. If it weren't for the gossip from the neighbors next door, saying that she loved stealing men the most, which made Wu Dalin alert, he might not have been willing to move this time. Wu Dalin was determined at first, but looking at Lily's back and her graceful figure, and thinking about how she almost died, he couldn't help but feel a little scared in his heart. At this moment, he was afraid that if he opened his mouth again, he would stimulate her to the point of seeking death. Some hesitated. Say it, the neck injury had just been injured. It was not serious at first, but because Wu Dalin was too short, he couldn't save her when he saw her hanging. When he went out and called people in, Panjinlian was naturally much more serious. When he spoke now, he was not as clear and moving as before, but instead seemed a bit hoarse. The first time she did the mission, she became a beauty like Panjinlian, but I don't know if it was because of the influence of her attribute values. Originally, Panjinlian was so beautiful that even the monks were fascinated by her, but now she is just ordinary and pretty. The charm of his body plummeted, and even Wu Dalin felt that his normally radiant wife suddenly looked much more ordinary, maybe because she was not as radiant after hanging. But this is okay, as long as his wife is no longer as seductive as before, he will feel much more at ease while selling cakes. Although Lily had already mentally prepared Wu Dalin's appearance in her mind, when she turned around, she actually saw that her chest was not even close to her chest. He was only a little taller than the Kong table. His appearance was ordinary, but his complexion was very wretched. When he saw Wu Dalin, he couldn't help but turned his head away and took a deep breath. Jin Lian, you have to know that everyone in Qinghe County gossips. Now that you and I are tired of quarreling, what's the point of staying here any longer? It's better to move as soon as possible. When he said this, he carefully glanced at Lily's expression, and then he said, I have a brother in Yanggu County who has now become the head of the capital. If we go and join him, no one will dare to laugh at us from now on. Do you agree? Knowing clearly what kind of character her daughter-in-law is, it would be useless even to move to the ends of the earth. When Wu Dalin was in trouble, he only wanted to move to avoid Zhang Dehu and others. Lily couldn't help but scold Wu Dalin in her heart, but now that Panjinlian has, if it were her, it would be impossible for her and Ximen Qing to hook up again, no matter where they live. Qinghe County itself was in trouble, because Wu Dalin couldn't save anyone, so it was best not to stay any longer. Although Lily was not afraid of other people's gossip, she was annoyed by being pointed at wherever she went. Seeing the hopeful look on Wu Dalin's face again, he couldn't help but feel depressed. He gritted his teeth and nodded, you make the decision. This was the first time she listened to Wu Dalin's words. Wu Dalin's eyes lit up, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. He subconsciously wanted to climb onto the bed. Lily saw his short figure crawling towards the bed with all his strength, and felt evil in her heart. Cold, scolding in a bad voice. What are you doing? I'm hungry. Wu Dalin felt happy when he saw that she was willing to eat, and hurriedly responded, Yinger has already made the porridge, but I'm just afraid that the lady won't eat it. Now I'll ask her to bring it. After saying this, he was afraid that Lily would hear it. The smell of her own vomit made her sick, and she happily took a broom to clean it. Seeing his diligent look, Lily couldn't vent her anger anymore, so she had to lie on the Kong bitterly, refusing to make a sound. Somehow, after entering this mission, or whether it was influenced by the original owner, she had a very bad temper. Even though she knew that she might have to sleep with Wu Dalin in the future, she was still a little angry. Seeing Wu Dalin wanted to vent his anger, but now seeing how busy he was, Lily bit her lip, wondering what was going on, and couldn't help but feel a little alarmed. She has lived for so many lives, even if she is not very smart, she should at least be patient enough. Wu Dalin is indeed not good looking, but it does not make her disgusted like this. Lily frowned, and Wu Dalin knew that she felt unhappy, fearing that she would be unhappy because her movements were slow, so she hurriedly speeded up the movements in her hands. At this moment, a timid girl about 12 or 13 years old came in from outside. She was wearing old gray clothes, patched everywhere, and her withered yellow hair was tied into a bunch. She timidly called out, "Mom, let's eat." The original owner also wanted to be a mother for someone else just because she was only 20 years old. She felt unhappy and often got angry with her and beat her and scolded her. She was very displeased with her, so Wu Ying'er was a little afraid of her, and there was a bit of cowardice in her eyebrows and eyes. Seeing Wu Ying'er, Lily felt a surge of anger in her heart. She suppressed it and nodded to Wu Ying'er, "Give it to me." To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly votes. Your support is my biggest motivation. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 76. Wu Ying'er could tell in her eyes that she was a little impatient, and her legs were trembling with fright. For a moment, she couldn't even move forward. When Wu Dalin saw this, he hurriedly wiped his hands on his clothes, glared at his daughter, and then he passed the bowls and chopsticks to Lily. "Be careful because it's hot, drink slowly, and tell me if there's anything you want to eat. Grab some pickles." Lily was impatient to talk to Wu Dalin on weekdays and usually ignored him. What Wu Dalin just said just came out smoothly, but he didn't expect that she would actually respond to him. For a moment, he was both surprised and surprised. She was afraid, worried that Lily was doing this to leave him, so she hesitated and asked, "Jin Lian, I am indeed not good looking, but I am sincere to you." The more he thought about it, the more he felt that Lily was coaxing him by promising to move away with him. Just as he was about to confess his feelings, Lily stood on his head, rolled his eyes at him. "I want pickles." "Oh, Ying'er, go quickly." Wu Dalin came back to his senses and urged his daughter. Seeing that Lily really wanted pickles and had no intention of saying anything else, he couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief, and his face showed joy. Just as he was about to bring the porridge to Lily, he saw her expression impatient and pointed to the stool beside her. "Put it over there, don't come over." Okay, I won't come over, but come over, you eat slowly, there won't be enough left in the pot." Wu Dalin rubbed his hands happily, and as expected, he let Lily direct him and put the chopsticks on the stool aside, standing next to him silent. Wu Ying'er quickly brought the pickles over, and the two father and daughter tremblingly stood aside with their hands clasped in front of their lower abdomens, respectfully waiting for Lily to finish her meal. Seeing the posture of these two people, Lily was both angry and wanted to laugh. "Okay, I've finished eating, and I have something to tell you." As soon as she said this, Wu Dalin became a little anxious. Just as he was about to speak, Lily glared at him. "Listen to me. Since you want to move, I can naturally go along with you. But I feel a little uncomfortable in my heart, so these days, after arriving in Yanggu County, I sleep with Ying'er, and you can live alone." Wu Dalin was still afraid that what she would blurt out was to leave him and ask him to give her a divorce note, but he didn't expect that Lily would just ask for this. For a moment, I felt a little relieved, but also a little lucky. I didn't agree. Although I was a little depressed, my beautiful wife slept with my daughter and stayed alone in the empty room. But on the other hand, I thought that Lily finally agreed to move. Instead of that, Lily finally agreed to move. Let her live with her daughter for a while. It was better than sleeping with others in Qingyang County, where it was cheaper. At least my daughter won't cuckold herself. The one who reacted differently to Wu Dalin's sigh of relief was Wu Ying'er. She was so frightened that her face turned pale and pale. Pan Jinlian was not kind to her on weekdays, either beating or scolding her. She felt very sorry for this little girl. Fear. I was afraid that she was thinking of some way to fix herself again, and her legs were trembling. Wu Dalin looked relieved, but couldn't say a word. Since he and Lily have already agreed to move, and what makes Wu Dalin most happy is that Lily has completely changed her mind. She is not like she used to be embarrassed when she heard the news, nor is she separated from him as he imagined. But he only proposed to sleep with his daughter, which was not a big deal to him, so he happily agreed. While Wu Dalin was packing her belongings, Lily began to practice martial arts such as the Nine Yang Manual again. The mysterious man in the space had said that as long as she practiced diligently, she would become more familiar with each practice, and the martial arts column, the attribute value, will also increase faster. The benefit of increasing the force value is obvious. If she had only just touched the door after practicing for half a month in the last mission, this time even if she didn't suddenly get better in 2 or 3 days, she would still be able to touch it like the last time. The entry level is only about 10 days. At this moment, Wu Dalin had just bought some clothes and other supplies, and returned the shop selling pancakes. He originally found the shop belonging to Zhang Dehu's family. It was precisely because he was honest and weak and could be bullied that Zhang Dehu gave birth to a child. She wanted to rent the shop to him cheaply and marry Pan Jinlian to him at the same time. She originally wanted to hook up with Wu Dalin because Pan Jinlian regretted it after seeing him. As expected, after the marriage, Pan Jinlian regretful, Wu Dalin thought Zhang Dehu was a good guy, but he was laughed at many times behind his back. After cleaning up for 2 days, Lily hid in the house and practiced martial arts every day. It wasn't that she didn't want to go out, but that Pan Jinlian had a pair of bound feet, and her feet hurt when she walked on the ground. It was very beautiful, but the pain inside made Lily a little unbearable, so she simply couldn't get out of bed. She wasn't going to go anywhere until she got used to these feet. Jinlian, Jinlian, I'm here to see you. The front of the store is connected to the room at the back. A slightly flirtatious male voice rang. Lily's face darkened. She already knew through her memory that she was outside. The person in question was Zhang Dehu. She sneered twice and ordered Ying'er next to her, go and boil the water in the pot quickly. Fortunately, she drinks cold boiled water every day instead of just scooping up cold water and drinking it like people do at this time. Wu Ying'er should have just boiled the boiled water on the stove at this moment, and it won't be much colder even if it cools for a while. Wu Ying'er slept with Lily for the past 2 days. Although Lily didn't hit her again, she was still afraid. After hearing Lily's instructions, she trembled, whispered yes, and hurriedly wanted to go out, but Lily asked her, after it's cooked, pour it into a bucket and carry it out, and put a gourd in it. Hey! As soon as Wu Ying'er finished answering and went out, there were quarreling sounds outside. Wu Dalin tried to stop them, but he couldn't stop Zhang Dehu. Although Zhang Dehu was much older than Wu Dalin, he was taller. He was much taller than Wu Dalin, and as expected, he broke in a moment. He was wearing a navy blue cotton robe, with traces of satin vaguely visible underneath. He wore a green leather cap and a mustache. His face was a little pale, and there were already bags under his eyes. It was very deep, with an aura that was a bit older than his age. He stared at Lily for a long time with his narrow eyes, and then frowned. Jinlian, long time no see, you have really changed a lot. Pan Jinlian seems to be born with a charming personality, and she has that kind of softness in her body. Her appearance is beautiful in itself, and with that kind of charming attitude, most of the bones will soften at the first sight. I don't know if it is because of the outside world. It was rumored that she pulled the rope to hang herself. Now she actually looked a little deserted. Most of her previous soft and charming appearance had disappeared. She no longer looked as attractive as before. Instead, she showed a somewhat old-fashioned and serious demeanor. Jin Lian, I heard that you are moving. If you move, are you willing to leave our Zhang family? Zhang Dehua wanted to come over, but Lily scolded him, why don't you want to move? Stand far away, otherwise be careful and wait for the water to boil. Don't have eyes. Boiling water? Where did you get the boiling water? Although Lily's bone-deep expression was gone, Zhang Dehua still felt a little itchy when he looked at her delicate face. This Panjinlian was a natural beauty, but it was a pity that when she was in the room he didn't get any benefits at all, so he was married off by the evil woman in his family. He had not tasted much sweetness after the marriage, so he was about to move. Seeing that the meat that was about to reach his mouth was about to disappear like this, Zhang Dehua was a little unwilling. He felt in his heart that Panjinlian might not be so attractive now, but he had to get her anyway. Thinking of this, he ignored Wu Dalan's presence and rushed towards Lily. Lily had just mastered martial arts, and after a few days, she couldn't see much effect. When she saw Wu Dalan standing there stupidly, Zhang Dehua's hand had already touched her cheek, she couldn't help but feel a chill, and directed at Wu Dalan he scolded. You are a dead man. You didn't see what they were doing. Believe it or not, I will tear my clothes off by myself if you stay here any longer. Don't tear it apart. When Wu Dalan heard this, he came back to his senses. He was so anxious that he wanted to come up and pull Zhang Dehua away, but he was short in stature and was no match for Zhang Dehua. Zhang Dehua kicked him with his leg. Then he rolled a few steps away. Lily saw that his body was rolled up like a ball, but his head looked huge, and she couldn't help but laugh angrily. At this moment, Ying'er happened to come over with a bucket, and she was trembling with fear. Seeing that Wu Dalan had no hope, Lily shouted to Ying'er, hurry up and scoop some water to splash on this scoundrel. Ying'er was timid to begin with, but when he saw Lily's fierce expression, he was so frightened that he couldn't move, but Zhang Dehua smiled darkly. Beauty, look at you, you are a short man. If you had obeyed me back then, why would I have wasted your life? Bah, Wu Dalan did not look good, but compared to Zhang Dehua's expression at this time, he was much better. Lily had a look of disgust on her face. Her boss seemed to wake up Wu Dalan, who was lying on the ground. He was so stunned that he looked up and saw that Zhang Dehua had pressed Lily onto the Kong. He jumped up quickly, and he didn't know where the strength came from. He rushed towards his daughter, picked up a bucket, scooped up the boiling water and poured it on Zhang Dehua. Get down. Ah! Zhang Dehua screamed, and the desire all over his body suddenly turned into burning pain, and his back felt like it was boiling. His family was originally wealthy, but unfortunately he did not dare to wear silk openly due to the court's rules. Therefore, the clothes on the outside looked ordinary, but the ones on the inside were made of satin. When it touched the water, it clung tightly to his body, and it was so hot that he jumped under the bed. He didn't bother to suppress Lily, and he danced while scolding. Wu Dalan twisted the handle of the ladle, a little dumbfounded. Lily closed her clothes bitterly. When she turned around, she saw Wu Dalan's unblinking look and rolled her eyes at him. What are you doing standing there? Splash him again. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly votes. Your support is my biggest motivation. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 77. She had almost been molested by this big man just now. The disgusting feeling made her want to vomit when she thought about it. She couldn't help but feel angry and evil in her heart, burn him half to death, and then throw him to Zhang. Go home. That old woman from the Zhang family is a tigress, fierce and ruthless. It would be strange if we go back and see if she doesn't shed her skin. Zhang Dehua, who was originally jumping in pain and just about to curse, couldn't help but grinned when he heard this. Don't mention it, don't mention it. he was indeed afraid of his wife. Lily had also been a slave in his house. At this moment, he didn't know Zhang Dehu's temper. He rolled his eyes and couldn't help but think. If you don't want to mention it, it's okay. I'll stop the slave's mouth with 10 taels of silver. Otherwise, don't tell your tigress. I'll have to spread the word to you even in Qinghe County. Then we'll see how you want to meet people. Anyway, Pan Jinlian's reputation has long been ruined. Not to mention Wu Dalan, no one in Qinghe County knows that he is a sesame seed seller. Everyone enjoys making fun of him. Now the two of them are not afraid of being barefoot. Wearing shoes, Zhang Dehu was really stunned by Lily's rogue appearance. 10 taels of silver is quite a lot. It is enough to buy a decent shop and house, but it is not impossible for him to get it. Today's thing is really not good looking. The sheep did not eat but made a mouthful. If it is when his wife found out, she might have to peel off a layer of his skin. Zhang Dehu hesitated for a moment, nodded, and sighed. Come on, since you said that, I'll take the money back later, and don't mention it again. Naturally, the slave family has already moved away. If the master doesn't say it, the slave family will naturally not mention it. But if the master wants to go back on his word, no wonder the slave family can't keep his words. He threatened Zhang Dehu a few times and saw him yelling a few times. Sheng Hui gathered her clothes and went out. Only then did Lily endure the pain on her lips and the disgusting smell of saliva, and ordered Wu Dalan, go get a bowl, and then a basin, I want to rinse my mouth. This man couldn't even drive Zhang Dehu away. Fortunately, she had been prepared before, otherwise she would have suffered this embarrassing loss today. The more Lily thought about it, the more angry she became. No wonder Pan Jinlian looked down on him so much back then. She rolled her eyes. Wu Dalan knew that she was a little unhappy, so he responded weakly, lowered his head and went out. Yinger collapsed on the ground and couldn't stand up. Wu Dalan came in with a basin and a bowl. Lily rinsed her mouth several times and felt that the smell in her mouth was gone. Then she breathed a sigh of relief and leaned back. Wu Dalan had already considerately brought her a pillow to cushion her below her waist. Although Wu Dalan is not very capable, but it was really nice to Pan Jinlian, Lily raised her eyebrows. Looking at his cautious expression, he felt a little angry in his heart, but he was trying to hold it back, and his face looked very ugly. When we arrive in Yanggu County, since you said your brother is there, it would be good to have someone to take care of you, but if something like this happens again, it would be better for you and me to go our separate ways. Wu Dalan's mouth twitched after hearing this. Lily gritted her teeth, shut up, you dare to cry. Being frightened by this, Wu Dalan naturally did not dare to cry, but his expression was a little pitiful. Madam, I am worried, I know I am not very capable, but my brother is excellent in martial arts, and he will definitely respect you as my sister-in-law, no one will come to protect you again. Lily naturally knew that Wu Song was extremely skilled in martial arts and could kill a tiger with his bare hands. Could it be that with so many lives on his hands, he was a man without the strength to restrain a chicken? In the end, even the original owner died in his hands. She hated and feared him. It wasn't that Lily didn't believe Wu Dalan's words, but for some reason, when she saw that although he served her very well, there was still a feeling in her heart. The evil is. Shut up. I am your wife, not his wife. Do I need others to protect me? Hearing Lily admit that she was his wife, Wu Dalan grinned and laughed twice, scratching his head and nodding, my lady is right, but it's my fault. He is different from the men nowadays. Although his appearance is a bit different, Lily has done so many missions. No matter which plot character she meets, no man has such a good temper as him. In modern times, it is very rare for him to serve his wife like this, and it is very rare for a man to be scolded like this without complaining at all. Lily couldn't help but feel weak when she thought of this, and she couldn't say anything else to scold him, even though she saw Wu Dalin was still angry, but she held it back and only waved her hand. Okay, hurry up and pack your things. It's best to set off tomorrow. In the afternoon, we'll get the money from Zhang Dehua. We'll hire a carriage and go to Yanggu County. It would be good if we go early to take care of him. Lily thought of what happened to Zhang today. Regarding the affairs of big households, I feel deeply in crisis. The person the original owner hooked up with was not just Zhang Dehua. If another Wang Dehua and Li Dehua appeared tomorrow, she would really be a little bit overwhelmed. Now her martial arts has just started, and Wu Dalin can't beat anyone. Although Wu Song he kills people without blinking an eye, but at least he still has great respect for Wu Dalin, the eldest brother who raised him since childhood. As long as he doesn't kill Wu Dalin this time, it is expected that even Wu Song will not be able to kill people easily again. What's more, when she went to Yanggu County, she planned to live in seclusion and practice martial arts at home while doing embroidery. The original owner had excellent embroidery skills. Lily had done so many missions and practiced martial arts and gu, but only embroidery was really good. She had never done it before, so she was going to learn it hard. Having many skills would not overwhelm her body. It would always be good if she had more skills. Wu Dalin didn't feel annoyed when he heard Lily's urging. He just laughed twice, happily followed Lily's instructions, and went out to pack his things. Before leaving, he asked his daughter Ying'er to wait by Lily's side. This girl lost her mother when she was young, and her stepmother beat her severely, so she was very afraid of Lily. Even though Lily basically didn't beat her or scold her in the past 2 days, she was still frightened. She doesn't dare to show off, but she is very serious and careful in her work. Her character is just like her father, honest, timid and cowardly, and refuses to hold grudges even after being bullied. Lily sighed, retracted her legs, and thought of the original owner's love for playing the pipa. Seeing Ying'er's eyes empty, she waved to her, "Go and get the lute for me." Wu Ying'er never dared not to listen to her orders, and hurriedly went to get her pipa. Lily tried to play it twice, but she didn't know if it was the instinctive movement of the original owner's body. As soon as her hand touched the pipa, she felt like consciously, he picked up the pick with his teeth, and a clear and sweet sound spread. Wu Ying'er couldn't help but freeze, with a look of fear and embarrassment on her face. Lily knew what she was thinking. In the past, Pan Jinlian's behavior was indeed frivolous, but now she would naturally not be able to sing the same romantic songs as before. Thinking of a few simple and lively piano songs in her memory, she plucked 2 next. Ying'er glanced at her curiously, then quickly lowered her head. "If you want to learn from now on, I will teach you." I don't know where Wu Ying'er was thinking about these words. She was so frightened that her legs trembled, her eyes rolled back and she almost fainted on the ground. Her teeth kept clicking and she said with a trembling voice, "Please mother, don't sell me." At this time, those who could play the pipa, and those who played the pipa leisurely, were either ladies from wealthy families, or ladies from the mill, or fans, who specialized in serving men. Wu Ying'er was not a lady, and there were many trivial matters at home, and she had no time to play and sing. Lily actually had the idea of teaching her to learn pipa. Thinking of Pan Jinlian's meanness to her after entering the house, Wu Ying'er started to cry. "Mom, I know how to wash and cook, and I know how to wait on my mother." "Well, look at your timid appearance like a mouse. The pheasant really can't turn into a phoenix. I'll teach you a few words and then cry." Lily could see that her changes in the past 2 days made the little girl very scared. The soft route didn't work, so she simply cursed a few words in an angry voice, but when she saw Wu Ying'er's expression relaxed, she couldn't help but smile bitterly in her heart. The relationship with the cheap stepdaughter is not that good. Wu Ying'er felt that she was brewing some big conspiracy 2 days ago. Today, when she saw that she was fierce, she breathed a sigh of relief and became more practical in her work. She no longer just like before, I was so scared that my steps were shaking. In the afternoon, Zhang De, who indeed brought 10 taels of silver, threw it to Wu Dalin angrily, and left with a cold snort. Although Lily is still somewhat beautiful now, she is not as attractive as she was in the past few days. The beauty in the world is again, it's not impossible. There are many more outstanding brothels than hers, and you can sleep for a night with just a few $100s. If you had known that you were going to lose money, you might as well not have Panjinlian's idea and go directly to the flower house. Zhang De, who had a gloomy look on his face, and his eyes were extremely painful. He only comforted himself that he would lose money and avoid disaster, but his heart was still not at peace, and he walked away with his hands behind his back in anger. "Madam, we have money, you see, we have money." The Wu family was already poor, and Wu Dalin had lost his parents for a long time. He first helped his younger brother grow up, and then after his ex-wife Chen left, he had to take care of his daughter. If not, when Zhang Dehu married Panjinlian to him, he not only refused to give him a betrothal gift, but also gave him a lot of dowry. I am afraid that given the situation of the Wu family, he also married someone who was not a wife. Now he is so poor that his pockets are empty, and now he can make such a fortune. You can imagine the joy in your heart when you get a windfall. Shut up. Bring me the money. Hand over all the money you have, Lily shouted at him. Wu Dalin scratched his head and responded. Sure enough, he handed the money in his hand to Lily and took out more money at the same time. She dug into her pocket and took out 7 or 8 copper coins. She was so angry that her nose was almost crooked. She pointed at the silver ingot and said, "How can you tell whether the silver is genuine or not?" Wu Dalin said, "Zhang Dehu is also a kind person, so it should be impossible for him to take fake ones." As soon as he finished speaking, he saw Lily's gloomy eyes and couldn't help but shudder. If you want to lie, you will know if it is true or not. To be continued. If you like this work, welcome. Please vote for recommendations and monthly votes. Your support is my biggest motivation. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 78. The good man almost fell in love with your wife some time ago. Lily sneered and handed the money to him. Take a bite. Why did I bite it? Wu Dalin asked honestly, but he still took the silver and took a bite, then handed it to her happily. Look, it's true. Zhang Dehu didn't lie. They didn't lie to him, so he felt like he had received a huge benefit. Lily couldn't help but feel a little sad, but she didn't say anything and motioned for him to hand over the money. She has asked about the prices in Yanggu County, and they are similar to those in Qinghe County. If the 3 of them come to Yanggu County, they will have to live in a place, but renting a house is no longer an option. Now that they have money, they must first buy a house. Yes, buy one facing the street and facing a shop. The front can be used as a shop and the back can be used as housing, which can also be used for business. Thinking of this, Lily squeezed the money in her hand tighter. If she wanted to buy a wider house and add some household items, she would need 6 or 7 taels of silver. In this way, there wouldn't be much left. What Wu Dalin made was just ordinary pancakes, which tasted delicious. The cake is not very good, at most it can only fill the stomach. However, although his craftsmanship is not very good, he has developed the skill of making noodles. The cake is very chewy. If you add more stuffing to it, it will be better. If you come up with a few tricks, you can sell not only cakes but also some side dishes to eat. You may not make much money or make much money, but your life can be considered ordinary. Lily made up her mind and started practicing martial arts overnight. Early the next morning, Wu Dalin knew that her little feet hurt when she walked, so he carried her to the carriage he had hired earlier, and Wu Ying'er carried her parcels out. Most of the things in it belonged to Panjinlian himself. Wu Dalin and his daughter were very poor and didn't have much luggage, so they set off. The journey was not very fast, and it took half a month to reach Yanggu County. Since there was no temporary place to stay, the few of them first found an inn to pick up the tips. Me and Lily asked Wu Dalin to take him from house to house. Find the house. Although her charm has diminished a bit now, her appearance is still good. She was afraid of causing some wild bees and butterflies, so she covered her face with a gauze. The weather was already hot right now, and her feet hurt after walking for a few days. She was so tired that Lily would get angry at Wu Dalin every day when she returned to the inn. She had a very bad temper at work this time, and she would fall out at every turn. Fortunately, Wu Dalin's temper was as good as dough. No matter how much she needed him, he had no temper at all. When he was scolded severely by Lily, he was still smiling. In the end, Lily couldn't bear to scold him anymore. I don't know if it's fate. It seemed like this should happen, so several people searched all the houses in Yanggu County. But I didn't see anything for sale. I went back to the street opposite the house where Wu Dalin rented in his previous life. There was a small restaurant owner who was planning to sell his property and return to his hometown, so he was planning to sell the restaurant at a cheap price. It was a house with a small 2-story wooden building outside, a small courtyard at the back, and 3 main rooms, so it was a restaurant. The kitchen tables and chairs are all equipped, but the shopkeeper's business has not been very good since he opened it. There were peddlers and lackeys living all around. His food was a little too expensive and no one ate it. Many things were ready-made at this time. In the plot in my mind, the restaurant was eventually sold, but it was replaced with satin. The village has attracted some people over. The business is not that good, but it is not necessarily bad either. Lily went to see it once and was a little moved. Because the shopkeeper wanted to exchange for some money to return to his hometown after selling, he didn't want anything. However, the price was a bit expensive, costing 8.5 taels of silver. Lily only had money from Zhangdehu. 10 taels, but she had already squeezed out half of it to rent a carriage and buy food for the trip to Yanggu County. Now she only had 9.5 taels left. If she spent another 8.5 taels to go out, there would be only 1 tael left. 2 silver coins. Although this tael of silver sounds like a lot, if a family does not open a restaurant and does nothing, it will be enough for them to eat and drink for a year, but if they want to open a restaurant, they can only survive for 2 months at most. I want to open a restaurant. If I can buy it, I can do it. But I'm afraid that I won't have any money in the future and my life will be difficult. When Lily returned to the inn at night, she said with a sad face. Wu Dalin was taking care of her and Ying'er. To make the bed, because the family was not well off, they only opened 1 room. Ying'er and Lily slept, while Wu Dalin made a few benches to use as a bed. Hearing Lily's words, he laughed. Madam, don't worry. At most, you can just sell cakes for your husband. There is no need for me to worry about it. What's more, the money is not ours in the first place, we just got it by chance. It's all spent once it's all spent. He said this to comfort Lily, and he didn't mean to blame Lily for spending money indiscriminately. On the contrary, he was willing to let Lily spend it all while he went to make money. Although Lily was a little moved, she still felt a little angry for some reason, and lost her temper inexplicably. I just opened a shop for you to sell cakes. Where are you going to sell them? Yes, my wife opened a shop for me to sell cakes. Wu Dalin also had a good temper and hurriedly responded a few times. When he turned around and saw Lily looking very angry, he hurriedly poured tea for her to apologize. Madam, don't calm down your anger. I said the wrong thing to my husband. If you feel unhappy, just hit me twice. After Wu Dalin finished speaking, Lily couldn't help but laugh. There was nothing funny about him, but looking at Lily he smiled happily, and couldn't help but laugh he twice, which made Lily roll her eyes and never get angry with him again. In this case, the restaurant is open. You sell cakes in the building, and I make some side dishes in the back. When Lily said this, Wu Dalin glanced at her curiously. I didn't know that the lady can play the pipa besides playing the pipa. Well, my daughter is not bad and can also cook, but she is a blessing for her husband. He glanced at his daughter hesitantly, mustered up the courage to say it again, and then whispered, Yinger is not that old now. She is young. I know she is not my mother's biological daughter, but she is also my daughter. My mother is very kind and kind. If I can teach her two things, let her get married and have a craft to make food and clothing comfortable. She will not be disliked by her husband's family. She will be a husband. I made cows and horses for my wife, and it worked. Wu Yinger had never offended Lily in any way. Although she felt that Wu Dalin and his daughter were very displeased this time, after all, Wu Dalin and his daughter had nothing to offend her. It was Wu Yinger who later they all let Panjinlian rub her around. Although Panjinlian didn't like her, it didn't matter whether Wu Yinger was doing well during the mission or whether he wanted to bully her. Thinking of this, Lily nodded, it's just easy work, even if you teach me, it's just that the little hoofs don't want to learn. In the past, she had a very bad attitude towards Wu Yinger, either beating or scolding her. In the past 2 days, she had been talking with a straight face for several days, and Wu Yinger was so frightened that she couldn't breathe. Now she cursed a few words. He said that he wanted to teach, but it made Wu Dalin feel at ease. He looked back at his daughter, with a look of relief on his face. In that case, why don't Yinger come quickly and thank your mother? Wu Yinger was still a little scared, but Wu Dalin had already spoken, so she timidly came forward to thank her, and she agreed to buy the restaurant. Although the shopkeeper has already set the price, he is in a hurry to sell. If he talks with him again, there is no room for the price to be reduced. As expected, if Lily spends 2 more days with him, the shopkeeper is in a hurry. When she saw the cash, she had no choice but to erase the 5 cents and sold the restaurant to her for 80 taels of silver. Because the person in charge of the house is now Lily, Wu Dalin has a very gentle personality. To put it nicely, he is gentle and considerate, and has no temper at all. Everything is left to her to decide. But to put it worse, this person has no responsibility and cannot choose. Liang Zi, who has brought up a whole family, has her own name written down in the restaurant Lily. She is still not sure what kind of character Wu Song, the murderer, is. If he has a bad temper and disagrees with her, she will have a safe place. Wu Dalin agreed very much. Firstly, the money was originally obtained by Lily from Zhang Dehe. Secondly, he was actually a person who could live happily. Whether he had real estate or not, it didn't matter to him. As long as he had food to eat and clothes to wear, I was satisfied and had no other demands. Once the restaurant was purchased, the shopkeeper had already packed his luggage and hired a carriage to leave overnight. Behi and his family simply moved in. Everything was ready-made, except for some quilts and other items. Fortunately, this time the weather was not too cold yet, so Lily only had 30 coins left for preparation, and the rest was spent on rice, grain, and other supplies. The restaurant didn't open to welcome customers on the first day, so she only asked Wu Dalin to serve the old noodles. She also ordered Yinger and Wu Dalin to peel garlic and wash ginger all night long. She also cut onions and other items into small and large pieces and set them aside. And bought more than a dozen chickens to raise in the back of the yard. Lily asked Wu Dalin to catch 2 of them. She was originally going to let him kill them, but it could be seen that he couldn't bear it, and he was angry in his heart. He went to lift them but kicked them hard. Wu Dalin kicked. She killed 2 chickens and simmered them all night, and cooked out a pot of fragrant soup with yellow oil beads. She beat the oil and prepared to use it to add to the soup later, while the chicken soup and other fresh things were asterisk. After working hard all night, the door of the inn finally opened at dawn. The restaurant mainly sells rice noodles, and pancakes in the morning. There is no time to make steamed buns at the moment, but the dishes sold in the morning, lunch, and evening have aroused the curiosity of many people. A bowl of noodles is not expensive for 2 cents. If you want to add more, a spoonful of fragrant meat sauce only requires 1 more penny, and the price is very cheap. Many people are happy to add another penny. Wu Dalin has no other skills, but his skill in kneading the noodles is top-notch, and the noodles are very chewy. This morning there were actually more people eating. When the noodles were sold out, many customers reluctantly left. Lily counted the handful of copper coins that she had collected, and there were more than 300 copper coins. There are so many. After Wu Dalin saw her counting, he touched it in disbelief. He spent most of his money yesterday on chickens, ducks, and other things, but he didn't expect that in just one morning, he actually made back his money. I came back with a few hundred coins like this. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly votes. Your support is my biggest motivation. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan Erwr. Chapter 79. After her experience in the morning, Lily knew what was going on. After thinking about it, she still had about 40 or 50 kilograms of meat, which was only delivered in the morning. It only took about 5 or 6 kilograms to make stuffing. She didn't know if there would be enough at noon. There were chickens and ducks, but not fish. She thought that if there wasn't enough, she would let Ying'er go out to have a look. She made a plan in her mind and drove the father and daughter to the back to cut vegetables and wash dishes. After dinner, he came at noon. As expected by Lily, the food she cooked was very delicious and full of umami. The most important thing was that the price was not too expensive. The price of a small restaurant was to eat the food of a big restaurant. The reputation gradually became louder, and there were more customers every day. Nowadays, Wu Dalin only works as a waiter in the store, while his daughter Wu Ying'er collects money. Lily is cooking alone in the kitchen. Sometimes Wu Dalin wants to help, but she won't let her do it. She has not fallen behind in martial arts. Although her appearance looks although he was weak, he was actually stronger than Wu Dalin in carrying pots and water. In this way, the reputation of Wu family Xian Weichuan spread. In only about half a month, the family had made a net profit of more than 4 taels of silver. With the money in hand, Lily simply found someone to buy some things for the winter, including cotton jackets, fine yarn, and other things for the bed. Once all the arrangements have been made, Wu Ying'er is now very old and will probably be sent out in 2 or 3 years at the latest. In the past, Pan Jinlian didn't like her, but she never thought that she was just a girl. If she doesn't like her anymore, then he prepared a dowry and sent her out to get married, but he beat or scolded her every day, which earned her a reputation of being mean. When something happened later, Wu Ying'er didn't say a single kind word to her in front of her. After the restaurant had been open for a month, Lily felt something was not right. There seemed to be something strange about her body. Although she couldn't feel her pulse, she hadn't had a pulse in a month. Even a fool could feel that something was wrong. She was calm and silent, and was preparing to find a doctor in 2 days. When he took a look, to his surprise, Wu Ying'er was busy in the kitchen just at noon, and she ran in happily. "Mom, second uncle. I found my second uncle. He's here to have a drink." She had been raising her for more than a month, and her cheeks seemed to have more flesh, and her eyes seemed to light up when she smiled. She didn't know that this month is it the reason why Lily didn't hit her again? Although she didn't have a good look towards her either. But Wu Ying'er still got a lot closer to Lily. This child had lacked love since she was a child, so she just stopped beating and scolding her. She was already very satisfied, and she looked forward to it when she called Lily to be a mother. But Lily still felt irritated for some reason. In fact, privately speaking, this is just a task. Even if she didn't like Wu Ying'er, she didn't hate her so much. If she hadn't gritted her teeth over and over again to control her, she might have turned against her. When she saw Wu Ying'er's happy face, he had a cold face and said nothing. I don't know if he is used to Lily's cold face. Not only did Wu Ying'er not feel that she was hit, she actually said happily. Second uncle is here for a drink. Mom, second uncle wants 2 roast chickens, 1 roast goose, and 2 plates of beef. Lily became a little angry when Wu Ying'er reported a long list of dish names. She paused her hand while cutting the vegetables, and then she pierced the knife on the cutting board. There was a bang sound, which startled Wu Ying'er. The smile on her face also disappeared, revealing a timid and frightened look. Come. What else do you want? Lily suppressed her anger and asked with a gloomy face, does he have money to take from him? We are all a family. Wu Ying'er bit her lips and whispered. If it was Pan Jinlian before, she would never dare to speak. This time it was Lily. She knew in her heart that Lily would not beat her again, so she became bolder and got closer to Lily. But as soon as she said these words, Lily sneered twice, since we are a family, I will eat whatever I want. If you take this place is a restaurant, so it goes with his wishes, but the money is not enough. Wu Ying'er didn't dare to talk back to her anymore, and her face no longer looked happy as before. She responded and went out timidly. Lily rolled her eyes. Although she didn't serve 2 roast chickens, she still chopped up a chicken that had already been stewed, mixed some spicy sauce, poured it on, mixed it thoroughly, and tasted it for herself. It tasted good, so I poured it into the plate. I took the time to fry 2 side dishes, and then stir-fried the twice-cooked pork. Then I put it on the tray and took it out myself. She is the boss's wife, and Pan Jinlian got into big trouble because of her beauty, so he actually never leaves the restaurant half a step at a time, and all purchasing matters are left to Wu Dalan and his daughter. The father and daughter are so honest that it makes people speechless. Lily is not afraid that they are greedy for money, just to avoid Pan Jinlian's trouble later. But this time it was her brother-in-law whom she had never met before, so she naturally wanted to go out and meet him to avoid being said to be rude. Although she no longer has the charming charm that she used to have, Pan Jinlian's appearance is very outstanding. Without that charm, her beautiful face looks much more like a good woman. Lily he often has a cold face, as if he has no expression, so now although he is swaying due to the inconvenience of walking on his feet, he no longer has that frivolous feeling, but is more serious. Why are there only 2 dishes like these? Wu Dalan was originally going to pick it up, but after taking a look, he exclaimed. There was no roast chicken, beef, etc. mentioned by his brother. He knew his brother's temper well. Wu Dalan was deeply afraid that Wu Song would be unhappy later. In addition, it was rare for him to meet his brother. Now that his brother had achieved success again, he felt happy. He couldn't help but feel that his wife was being a little underhanded. As soon as he asked, Lily looked at him coldly. Looking over, Wu Dalan's back felt numb, he laughed twice and did not dare to speak out, but his face still had a look of joy and satisfaction. Eat first. If it's not enough, go to the kitchen to make some. You can sit down and eat some, just in time to accompany your uncles. Lily glanced at Wu Song. He was tall and strong. When Wu Dalan stood up, he was not as good as when he was sitting. He has a high chest, thick eyebrows, and big eyes. What's more, he has an extremely tough masculine spirit, which Wu Dalan with a wretched temperament cannot match at all, so Pan Jinlian saw him in Yanggu County. Wu Songshi, who was full of masculinity, was intoxicated. However, Lily didn't like this kind of man who looked like he had tangled muscles. In addition, she also had martial arts skills for some reason. It was obvious that when she saw Wu Song, she instinctively felt resentful and afraid, so not only did she not get close to him at all, my heart, on the contrary, wishes I could be farther away. Wu Erlang came with the brothers from the Yamen. He has now been appointed as the head of the Yanggu County Magistrate. Now because of his cheerful temperament, he will avenge his revenge, and because of his reputation for killing tigers with his bare hands, he is very popular among people. He was admired and therefore respected among his colleagues, so he brought about 2 or 3 people here with him. Wusong has met my sister-in-law. This was the first time he met his brother Wu Dalan since he ran away in Qinghe County thinking he had killed someone. Naturally, he had never met Pan Jinlian, whom Wu Dalan married later. Now he met Lily. Although he was a little surprised that Wu Dalan could marry such a beautiful woman like Lily, he saw Lily's cold expression. Although her face was soft and charming, her temperament was not frivolous at all. He had no doubts in his heart and just stood up. He cupped his hands at Lily and called out. Everyone who came with him also stood up, held their hands towards Lily, and called in unison, "Sister-in-law." "Brothers, you don't have to be polite, you don't have to be polite." Before Lily could speak, Wu Dalan greeted everyone with a hee-hee smile. Lily rolled her eyes and glared at him. "I haven't spoken yet, who wants to? Are you here to mind your own business?" "Yes, yes, you have taught me a lesson in front of everyone." Wu Dalan was not annoyed by Lily's scolding. Instead, he scratched his head in a good-tempered manner and laughed twice. Several government officials also laughed as well. They looked at Wu Dalan's face. He was ferocious and wretched, while Lily was beautiful and touching. They all felt that Wu Dalan had the ability to marry such a good wife and were naturally overjoyed. Even though he was henpecked, he didn't take it seriously. On the contrary, he thought the couple was interesting, but Wusong frowned. Made no sound. Lily glanced at him and put the tray on the table. "This is the first time I see my uncle. I am a waiter who is supposed to enjoy wine and meat, but I am pregnant and felt unwell after cooking a few dishes. I hope you can forgive me." Lily knows very well about her body. Although she hasn't seen a doctor yet, she is already very sure that this body is pregnant. According to her memory, although the original owner Pan Jinlian and Zhang Dehu and others are unclear. But at this moment he has not taken that step in a substantial way. It is just teasing Feng Lu. This child is naturally Wu Dalan's. When Wu Dalan heard this, he was very happy. He was almost middle-aged, but he only had a daughter. He was worried that he would die without a child when he was old. Now he heard the good news that Lily was pregnant. After a while, Ying'er couldn't recover, but Ying'er heard it and said quickly, "Mother, sit down and have a rest. The kitchen must not be busy anymore. It's just a pregnancy, it's not a matter of life and death." "Why are you so nervous?" Lily scolded Ying'er, but Wu Ying'er didn't take it seriously. Instead, she had a smile on her face. Everyone congratulated her. Wusong heard this. After saying this, his expression softened, and he was very pleased with Lily's appearance of not being very squeamish and willful because of her pregnancy. The grudge he had just because of her scolding her brother naturally disappeared for the most part, and he cupped his hands at Lily. "My sister-in-law has given birth to an heir for the Wu family. It is a great achievement. Song Song is here to propose a toast to my sister-in-law." After saying this, he picked up the wine bowl in front of him, raised his head and drank it without even frowning. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly votes. Your support is my biggest motivation. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 80. Lily glanced at Wu Dalan, not knowing when he brought the Xiao Daizai. After the restaurant business got better, Lily naturally bought some of various drinks. This Xiao Daizai was the hottest one among them. Wusong was he is a man who drinks without restraint and gets into trouble after drinking. His character can be seen from the fact that he thought he beat someone to death in Qinghe County and walked away. After beating someone to death, he threw away the mess. He just patted his butt and ran away. He was quite powerful and was not afraid of people seeking revenge. He hid in Chai Jin's house, but Wu Dalan was left alone. He almost didn't get beaten to death by the family. Fortunately, the man he beat just fell asleep, otherwise Wu Dalan would have eaten it early. Got into a lawsuit. After he arrived in Yanggu County and killed a tiger, he did not take any money, but instead gave it to the hunters. The county magistrate loved his generosity and righteousness, so he gave him the position of head of the capital. Lily was well aware of Wu Song's character, both ferocious and tough, so to put it nicely, it is the kind of person who acts willfully and walks around the world without following trivial matters. To put it more harshly, he is the kind of person who does things willfully and without regard for the consequences. This man refused to be suppressed at all, unless favor and his so-called morality suppressed him. Apart from his friends, I am afraid that only Wu Dalan could control him. Thinking of this, Lily sneered and glanced at Wu Dalan. Wu Dalan understood what she meant and quickly picked up a bowl of wine. My wife is pregnant and it is really not suitable to drink. I drank this bowl for her. He doesn't have a good drinker like Wu Song. After one bowl, circles appeared in his eyes and he staggered down. Lily rushed to Yinger and ordered, "Send your father into the room and have a good sleep." Yinger agreed softly and hurriedly carried Wu Dalan in. Only then did Lily stand up. "Uncles, please sit down for a moment. I'm going to bring you a bowl of rice. When you go out, drink less and eat more." As soon as she said this, several government servants touched their noses in embarrassment. He responded and saw Lily twisting her waist to go in, so she whispered to Wu Song, "Erlang. Your sister-in-law is so powerful. I don't know if your eldest brother is pregnant or not." Seeing how Lily controlled Wu Dalan obediently, Wu Song thought of her cheerful personality just now and was not coquettish or pretentious, but instead felt good in his heart. Nodded. Regardless of this, even if you don't drink alcohol, it's okay to fill your stomach with food. As soon as he said this, everyone was following his lead, so they naturally responded. What Wu Song and others didn't expect was Lily's excellent craftsmanship. The stir-fried vegetables were delicious, but it was a pity that there was no wine to accompany them. But the accompanying rice was not bad, and several people ate several large bowls like a flurry of food. Lily knew how much these people ate, and the few side dishes were far from enough, so she cooked a large pot of braised pork and took it out herself. There were already leftovers on the table of Wu Song and others. I was relieved when I saw the food coming. "Sister-in-law, I'll come." The pot of braised pork was filled to the brim. It looked like she weighed dozens of pounds. Lily's little feet were wrapped and she walked unsteadily. Everyone was sweating when they saw her. Wu Song didn't want Lily to marry into the Wu family and it was so hard, but he felt right. Lily became more fond of Lily and hurriedly got up to pick it up. Only when he took the basin did he realize that he had underestimated Lily. She looked delicate and small, but she had no difficulty in carrying the basin. He felt a chill in his heart and subconsciously looked down. He glanced at Lily, but he was tall. When he looked over, he could only see the faint red belly band peeking out from the slightly slanted part of Lily's collar. He blushed and quickly turned his head away. "It smells so good, boss lady, why does Wujita have it but we don't?" It was the first time for many regular diners to see the boss lady of Wujiazian Weixuan. They were all shocked to realize that a talent like Wu Dalan could actually marry. For such a beautiful girl, although Lily's charm has lost a bit, because flowers have to be paired with cow dung, with Wu Dalan as a foil, no matter how little charm she has, she instantly becomes a lot more charming, making people feel very stunning. Plus she usually only stays in the kitchen, so naturally when others see her for the first time, their eyes light up even more. Wu Song frowned, and just when he was about to get angry, Lily sneered, "Shut up, Mom. If you like it, eat it, or if you don't, get out. This is my man's biological brother, how can you compare with him? Keep talking nonsense. Next time when you have dinner, I will catch a mouse, skin it and put it in the pot, and serve it with wine for you, Everyone did not expect that she looked weak on the outside, but had such a fierce temperament. The person who just made fun of her also touched his nose and did not dare to say anything, but Wu Song's mouth was full of laughter. He showed a smile and cupped his hands towards Lily. He sat down and just didn't mention eating. Lily didn't say anything, turned around and went into the kitchen again. On this day, the news spread throughout Yanggu County that Wu Dalin, who was as big as 3 inches of nail-like bark, had a ferocious tiger-fighting brother and a beautiful and fierce daughter-in-law in Yanggu County. Since Wu Song met his brother that day, naturally, he was also planning to move to the Wu family. He was brought up almost single-handedly by Wu Dalin, and he had a deep affection for Wu Dalin. Originally, he came back to find his eldest brother, but now that he has found him, there is no reason for the family to live in 2 homes, so he settled down. I moved a few of my belongings back. He knew that such a day would come sooner or later, and she was prepared in her heart. However, Wu Song had a naughty personality, just like Sun Wukong, who was not suppressed under the Wuzi mountain. He did whatever he wanted, which was probably what Wu Dalin was used to when he was young. If he wanted to change his temper, don't let him regard human life as nothing, and kill people and silence them at every turn, so he can only train people well. She was not worried about Wu Song's own safety. This guy had so many lives on his hands and killed without blinking an eye, but he died in the end and lived to be 80 years old. He himself was not afraid of death, but Lily was afraid of death. If he really killed Zhang Mention's family lawlessly and caused a big lawsuit like in the plot later, it wouldn't matter if he died, but it would affect his family, so she didn't care about Wu Song moving to Wu's house. He didn't express any objection, but he secretly wanted to find an opportunity to change Wu Song's character. This time came soon. In the morning, when Wu Dalin and Wu Ying'er and their daughter went out to buy flour, rice, and meat respectively, Wu Song held up a stone lock and walked around the yard twice when Lily came out. His upper body was bare and his muscles looked tangled. When Lily came out, his face was red and he looked a little embarrassed, but Lily glanced at him. "Uncle is quite strong, but this stone lock is a little lighter. My uncle's hand should be as strong as 100 stones, right? Although this stone lock looks heavy, an ordinary man must not be able to lift it, but for Wu Song, it is not. What's so difficult?" When Wu Song heard her say that the stone suo was still light, he couldn't help but grinned. "Sister-in-law, if you think it's a little light, why don't you try it too?" Stimulated, he thought Lily was helpless and wanted to interfere with his affairs, so she spoke harder, and ignored that she was not wearing any clothes. She directly released the stone lock and signaled Lily to come over. Lily is not polite either. She has long wanted to find an opportunity to subdue Wu Song. This guy is arrogant, too arrogant, and has a bad personality. He can fight and kill people if he disagrees with him, but just put it here. He was a hero at that time, but in modern times he is an out-and-out troubled boy. He killed someone and still dared to run away. In the end, he was forced to go to jail. He just didn't meet anyone who could restrain him. Otherwise, where would he be? The opportunity to go to Liangshan and Luko became a bandit. Now Lily has been practicing the 9 Yang manual for several months, and with the help of some Taoist secret techniques, it is really no problem to lift the stone lock. She easily lifted the stone lock, and it didn't seem to be strenuous. Put down the stone lock again, Wu Song's eyes almost rolled out. He didn't expect Lily to have such ability, and he couldn't help but feel excited. If Lily is an 8-foot-long man, it is not surprising that she can lift the stone lock Wu Song easily, but because of her slender bones and her stature even reaching her chest, a petite person can lift such a thing, just like as if a child could defeat a strong man. Wu Song's eyes lit up. "It's so strange, so strange." He picked up the stone lock again with some disbelief, and then looked at Lily several times. "Sister-in-law actually has such magical power, I don't know. I would like to teach you that I met a strange person when I was a child and learned a few kung fu skills." It was just because I learned it late. If it takes another year and a half, you will definitely not be my opponent. Lily saw the surprised look on his face, and seemed to be a little curious. If a man mentioned the stone lock today, Wu Song would only feel unwilling, but precisely because it was a woman who mentioned it, he would be a little unwilling, but more curious. Lily deliberately whetted his appetite and walked towards the kitchen. As expected, she saw Wu Song following him all the way. The corners of her mouth could not help but curl up, and there was a calm look in her eyes. What? Could it be that uncle also wants to learn? Hearing this, Wu Song's face turned a little red, as a man can't even compare to a woman, but now Lily said what he wanted to learn really made him feel itchy. Is it possible that my sister-in-law is willing to teach me? As the saying goes, a sister-in-law is like a mother. It's actually not difficult to teach you, but you have to agree to a few conditions. When he heard Lily say that he could teach him martial arts, Wu Song was moved. He was incredibly powerful. Dai knows a few moves in martial arts, but they are all inferior. If he meets a real master, brute force alone is not enough. If he can learn a few moves, he will no longer be afraid of others. Wu Song was filled with curiosity at this moment, and he nodded like a glutton. Sister-in-law, just say it, as long as it doesn't violate morality and harm my eldest brother, I can agree to anything. It means that he will not hesitate to kill people and set fires. Knowing the true face of the murderous god in front of him, Lily twitched the corner of his mouth and said softly, "That's okay. First of all, you have learned martial arts and can't kill people at will. There are really no rules in Qinghe County after beating someone to death. Do you know that after you left, your eldest brother was almost arrested and thrown into a cell? If that person hadn't just fainted. Now you are hiding yourself, but your elder brother can't escape. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly votes. Your support is my biggest motivation." Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 81. When Lily mentioned this matter, Wu Song couldn't help but blush on his face. Now that he heard Lily defending his eldest brother in every way, he couldn't help but feel relieved and a little happy for Wu Dalin. Although Lily was scolding him for this matter, it was still for Wu Dalin. Okay, as long as Lily treats Wu Dalin well, it will make him happier than being nice to him, so he nodded without hesitation. I will definitely not cause trouble to my eldest brother in the future. Now, we don't care if you make friends in the future, but if you want to make any decision, you still need your brother and I to agree together. This time she won't be as stupid as Panjinlian, so naturally she won't. Maybe if Wu Song is given another chance to kill her, Wu Song should no longer think about being in charge of others in Liangshan. Panjinlian's wishes in this life are very confusing. Since the original owner doesn't know how to live her life, naturally everything has to be according to her ideas. Wu Song did not hesitate and nodded in agreement. What about the third one? The third thing is that you have to swear that you will never pass on what I taught you to another person. Lily didn't want to turn the whole world upside down. She just wanted to make a slight change. Wu Song naturally agreed and asked again, "Any more?" "No more for the time being, but if I think about it in the future, I will also say. Next I will teach you how to use internal energy." When she completed the task of exterminating that life, in addition to learning the 9 Yang Manual and the 9 Yin Manual, and also knows a lot of Kung Fu from other sects, including some simple inner skills from Shaolin Temple and others. For a person like Wu Song who is very physically strong, there is nothing more suitable than practicing Shaolin martial arts in a vigorous way. He thought about mixing some basic Shaolin mental techniques with the 9 Yang scripture. After adapting a set of internal skills suitable for Wu Song, Lily was silent for a moment, then read it out, indicating to Wu Song to repeat it a few times and remember it. Wu Song was a little curious. What's the use of these? Just follow the instructions and you'll be done. Next, I will teach you what the meridians are and the major acupuncture points. I will also help you run the internal energy once You only need to know how to do it yourself. If you practice more, you will naturally be ready. Lily explained to him impatiently. Seeing that he remembered it, she picked up a few stones and threw them at several important points in his family. She saw that she could throw them safely. When the blow hit his body, he felt sore again. Wusong felt that Lily was magical and respected her even more. After about half a month of doing this, Wusong began to understand the method of practicing martial arts. After tasting the beauty of it, he simply squatted at home and practiced every day. Sometimes Yinger would bring him meals, let alone go out and fool around. There weren't many things going on in the Yamen, and the magistrate of Yanggu County took pity on Wusong because he was a talented person. He didn't care when he was missing sometimes, and only called him when it was important. This gave Wusong a lot of time to practice martial arts. Maybe it was this martial arts practice. The way also depends on talent, and he is much more talented than Lily at this. In just 2 or 3 months, he had mastered the internal skills. Naturally, he is much more dangerous now than when he relied solely on brute strength. As Wusong became obsessed with internal strength, his attitude towards Lily also began to change. If he had been a little contemptuous before, now he truly regarded her as a respected person. Sometimes he would listen to Lily's words and even compete with her in person. You should be much more respectful to Wu Dalin. Time flies and more than half a year has passed. Lily's stomach has already started to work in the past 2 days. Wu's restaurant has naturally been thrown aside and temporarily closed for a few days. Although she only appeared in the restaurant for a moment that day, she didn't know, maybe it was because of the hospitality of some caring people, but her reputation spread out. If it weren't for the vicious Wusong in the family, I'm afraid a prodigal would have come to look for trouble. As soon as the new year passed, she gave birth to a son. Although she had done several missions and had never been a mother, this was the first time that Lily had given birth to a son. Naturally, she felt a little strange in her heart. She originally thought that she had always been a mother. It was painful, but apart from the vague discomfort in her stomach when the attack started, when the actual child was born, her soul began to float lightly. When she returned to her body, her son had already been born. Wu Dalin was naturally very happy. The situation at home was much better now. He invited his mother-in-law to come and serve Lily. When March was up, she finished her confinement, and her body became more mature and charming. It was a bit more than before she had the baby. After confinement, she once went out to deliver food, and many people actually looked at her in a daze. As soon as Lily's reputation spread, just like in the plot, the queen came to visit her again. She came here on the pretext of coming to teach Lily needlework. She only knew that this eldest lady of the Wu family was famous for her beauty and her ability to cook delicious food. Everyone praised her, but she had never heard of anything else about her. As soon as other fun came to her mind, she instinctively felt that there was an opportunity. At this time, there was a well-known Ximen official in Yanggu County. This man was originally just a scoundrel, but he was extremely capable and knew how to work hard. He was in favor with Cai Xiang and his son in the capital, and was awarded 1,000 hu. Now living in Yanggu County, he has no other hobbies, but he is indispensable for women all night long. He is lustful and lustful. Almost all the more famous beauties in Yanggu County have been picked by him. And he is generous with his money. If he likes it, he will never be stingy with money. Po Wang felt that since Wu Dalin's wife Pen was a well-known beauty, she would definitely not want to live alone with Wu Dalin for the rest of her life, so she had some thoughts in her heart. Now that Lily had given birth to a son, she was easily invited into the house by Wu Dalin because she wanted to come to make clothes for her brother. Lily has seen Mrs. Wan countless times in the plot, but this was the first time in her life that she actually saw her. She didn't expect that Wu Dalin would invite such a person back when he went out, and she couldn't help but laugh. It's true that there is a way to heaven if you don't take it, but there is no door to hell if you break in. Originally, she hadn't thought about punishing Wangpo, but she didn't expect that she would join in on her own. Wu Dalin led the ulterior Lady Wang in with a smile on his face. "Look, madam, this is the old woman from the next street. I heard that my wife gave birth to a son, so she specially made some pairs of tiger head shoes. Come and see our son." Wu Dalin had a silly smile on his face, and he hadn't noticed the old woman yet. As soon as he entered the door, he looked around with a stern look. Seeing this made Lily feel sick in her heart. She had been very angry after this mission, but now she looked at her son who was sleeping soundly with a cold face, without even raising her eyelids. "What are you here for?" Her voice was cold and indifferent. I wonder if it was because she had given birth to a child. She had a motherly temperament in her body. She did not put down her martial arts after confinement, so her figure was not out of shape. In addition, after giving birth to a child, she has gained a plump figure, and her movements are more attractive than before. Wangpo took a look and felt her eyes shining brightly. She saw that Lily had almond-shaped eyes and peach cheeks. Her eyes were bright and somewhat cold, and her lips were red. Although his temperament is a little colder, who doesn't know what makes Ximendaguan so nice? If it really fell into kitsch, it would not be as attractive as the cold appearance now. In Wangpo's view, such a beautiful woman would definitely be unhappy if she married a husband like Wu Dalin. Ximen, the official, looked so charming and suave. Coupled with the huge wealth, it is guaranteed to make Lily happy. Think of this. Wangpo lowered her head and glanced at Wu Dalin. "De Lang, I'll tell your wife what's on my mind. You don't have to stay here, just carry your son out." Being bossed around by an outsider in his own home, Wu Dalin showed no dissatisfaction at all. He just laughed innocently twice and went out with his sleeping son in his arms. Lily didn't stop her, so she could just go out. In order to avoid waking up his son when he couldn't control his temper and hit Mrs. Wang. Mrs. Wu is so lucky and good-looking. Mrs. Wang sat over, took a careful look at Lily, and said tentatively, "I heard that the lady was originally from Qinghe County, and her native place. If you have anything to say, just say it directly, don't beat around the bush." Lily coldly interrupted Wangpo's words and said bluntly, "I still have something to do. If I just talk nonsense, please forgive me for the inconvenience of entertaining guests." When Po Wang saw Lily being so direct, she felt a little unhappy. She thought that Panjinlian had a bad temper. For the first time, she felt a bit resentful in her heart. However, she thought that if she introduced her to the high official of Ximen, she would get some money. No matter what her attitude is. "Don't be angry, madam, calm down." Wangpo showed a smile and reluctantly comforted Lily. "I would like to teach madam to know that your flower-like appearance is a bit too much even for me to look at. It's a pity that madam is not so lucky." Married to such a person as Wangpo said, she stared at Lily's face, her eyes flickering, as if she wanted to get an answer from Lily. Lily laughed. The original owner was indeed unwilling to marry Wu Dalin, so he easily took the bait of Mrs. Wang and ended up with such an unfortunate ending. But today's Lily is different from the original owner. She really doesn't like Wu Dalin, but equally, she also dislikes Ximen Cheng. Even if she doesn't know the original plot, Wu Dalin can give her a stable life no matter how bad it is, and Lily knows it in her heart. Knowing that she came here for a mission and not for pleasure, Wangpo could deceive the original owner, but she could never deceive her. "You are right." Wangpo felt refreshed when she heard what Lily said. "There is a big shot in Yanggu County, his name is Ximen Cheng. This man is good at literature and martial arts. Cai Xiang and his son regard him very highly. Not to mention her wealth, she is also handsome and talented. Only the high-ranking official from Ximen can match her." As soon as Mrs. Wang finished speaking, she looked at Lily. She smiled kindly, until Lily felt sick in her heart, and then she said triumphantly, "Then the high official Ximen is a very good person." I don't know if Wangpo is such a good person, why doesn't Wangpo stay and enjoy it for herself? Lily couldn't bear to see Wangpo's disgusting look, and said bluntly, I think Wangpo is getting stronger and stronger, and she is still very young even at this age. Speaking of this high-ranking official always had a look of admiration on his face. Yunu thought that they were a match made in heaven. Bah, bah, bah. When Po Wang heard this, she was furious and wanted to rebel, but she was a little reluctant to part with the money she had not received. Seeing Lily's sharp teeth, Po Wang said coldly, to tell you the truth, if you are serious about it, I will help you find a matchmaker. If you accomplish that good thing as soon as possible, you can find a great marriage. Otherwise, I will follow your good-for-nothing Wu Dalan and eat your spoiled vegetables for the rest of my life. Lily was waiting for her to reveal her true purpose. Seeing that she couldn't bear it now, she sneered twice and pulled Wangpo out. Uncle, is he here? Recently, the high authority in the county who promoted Wu Song was impeached by Prime Minister Cai. Now he has no way to protect himself, and he can't control much about Wu Song. Therefore, Wu Song stayed at home almost the whole day. If it weren't for this, it would be difficult for him to come forward. Lily he had already taken care of Wangpo and Ximenqing himself. Wu Song heard Lily calling and hurriedly came out of the house. He happened to see Lily twisting Wangpo. When he was a little confused, he heard Lily say, this old pious woman shamelessly wants to be my lobbyist. She says that the high official Ximen has taken a fancy to me and wants me to poison the young man to death and marry him into the Ximen family. You can do whatever you want, as long as you don't give him to me. If you kill me, the rest is up to you. As soon as Lily finished speaking, Wu Song folded his palm and made a rattling sound, which scared Granny Wang and shook her head. Who doesn't know Wu Song, the famous tiger hunter in Qingyang County? Wangpo knew that if her old bones fell into Wu Song's hands, she might not end well. She was frightened and couldn't help but glare at Lily. When she was about to explain, Wu Song didn't give her a chance and slapped Wangpo on the face. This slap broke the corner of Wangpo's mouth into pieces, and a stream of blood flowed out from the corner of her mouth. Half of my life is gone, how can I still speak? Sister-in-law, Ximenqing is the adopted son of Cai Latif's disciple. You see. Wu Song lifted Wangpo away like a chicken with one hand and asked Lily. Lily shook her head, you can't handle this matter no matter what, I'll take care of it. You can take Po Wang back and find some bugs for me, she also has bewitching skills. It's not difficult to kill Ximenqing, but if she wants to kill him without knowing it, there is only one method of Gu. Wu Song didn't know what she meant when she mentioned the bugs, but he agreed. When he got Wangpo away, he followed Lily's instructions and brought back a large bag of bugs of all kinds. What is the use of these things, sister-in-law? Wu Song now admired Lily very much and asked. Lily sneered, snake, insect, rat and ant are not just hurting people, they may even kill people. Uncle, are you there? Have you ever heard of Nankiang technique? Hearing this, Wu Song was shocked, nodded, and hesitated. Could it be that my sister-in-law also knows this kind of magic? I once received guidance from a foreigner and taught him a few moves. Ximenqing is very powerful and loves women. If this cancer is not removed, I don't know how many people will suffer from his poisonous hands. Lily glanced at Wu Song and said, seeing him looking a little aggrieved, I took the opportunity to teach. Although it is indeed satisfying to kill him openly, there are many guards around him. Let alone whether he can succeed. Even if he succeeds by chance, he will be wanted by the court. Now that I have a young man, even if it is not for myself, I will have to for the sake of your children. You have to think twice before doing anything, Uncle said. Is this the truth? Wu Song did not say anything, but had a thoughtful look on his face. Seeing that he knew what he knew, Lily stopped talking. She spent 2 months making a simple heart-eating goo, and asked Wu Song to put it on Ximenqing without anyone noticing. About half a year later, Ximen Qing suffered from heartache, attack, colic and death. The people of Yanggu County were all cheering. At this time, the high-ranking officials in Yanggu County who had been kind to Wu Song were transferred away. Wu Song began to feel angry, but then he realized that the world was not as easy as he imagined, so he only listened to Lily's words. Paid the money to see Gao Quan off, but nothing happened after that. 2 years later, Lily sent Wu Ying'er to get married. Although she and Wu Dalan still had bad tempers, Wu Dalan was considerate. Although Lily did not allow him to touch him, he did not force it after he had a son. Without Ximen Qing, Wu Dalan would just live to be 40. He taught Wu Song martial arts for a few years, and then he married his housewife and started a family. However, he lived the life of a wealthy man and was no longer like in the plot. In the end, Ban was forced to go to Liangshan. Naturally, there was no situation where he later lost an arm and became a monk, causing the Wu family to die. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for recommendations and monthly votes. Your support is my biggest motivation.